let me ask you something. Do you like sex? Do you like fantasy? Do you like adventure? Well, do I have the game for you? That is Baldur's Gate 3, which is now on the PS5 and of course has been on PC for like months. I got a review copy to talk about it with on PS5 and it's taken me quite a bit to beat it, and I'm going to be honest, I still have not beaten it, but I needed to get this review out and as well as my thoughts for Baldur's Gate. So there will be a follow-up video to this if you guys enjoy this content and if you enjoy things like this, because I'm going to talk about once I beat it, but I really wanted to put a lot of time into it because this type of RPG only comes around so often, and specifically because it's so big, like just within Act 1, there's so many places that you could easily miss, so many little quests, so many little storylines, and this is coming from someone who has never played D&D. I know this is based off the tabletop role-playing game. I've watched people play it, but I've never actually experienced it. The only knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons I have is the movie that came out earlier this year. Awesome movie, by the way, if you never got to see it. But as well, my first experience was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. This PlayStation 2 game, which I just had to show off. Like, I got the manual, you got all this. And, like, guys, I miss when we had, like, giant manuals like this. Just saying. But this game was my childhood. This Gauntlet, like things like this were huge to me, and I'm so dumb I didn't even know this was Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, I didn't know that until I started, like, I went and saw the movie. I'm so dumb. When it came down to the actual deep dive of Baldur's Gate and actually jumping into the first two games, I own them, never played them. I didn't know much. I just had friends who were hyping the hell out of this game. Reviews were going out of everywhere, and I'm a huge RPG fan, and I was getting pretty excited. And there's a couple things that held me back from this, but, you know, we're going to dive all into that. I definitely want to hear all your guys' thoughts. Are you guys fans of Dungeons and Dragons? Are you fans of Baldur's Gate? Do you love this game? I'm sure many of you guys have already played it. If this is your first time watching this channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because my name is Zach. I am a film critic who loves talking about video games as well, and that's why this channel is called Critics Play Games, because over here, I get to talk a little bit more about video games than I do on my normal channel. So, with that said, let's dive into this. Again, never played the other ones, so I don't know. I own them. I should probably go back and play them. Literally, this is the one I've played is Dark Alliance 1 and 2. Love the games. I need to buy Dark Alliance 2. But let's get the one thing out of the way, the elephant in the room, because I really only have one issue with this game, and it's not going to be an issue for everybody. Well, I guess I have a couple, but in general, this is the one that kind of almost turned me off from even playing the game. It's turn-based. I'm not huge on turn-based games. I just never have been. I'll play them, I'll get through them, if they have a great story, if they're fun, and, like, again, the story is engaging, I can get through them, but never been a huge fan of turn-based. And I'll be honest, when this game started, I was not a fan of it. I honestly thought it was very clunky. It kind of just throws you in, doesn't really teach you what to do but the basics. At that point, you'll get so many different items, so many different spells, so many different things that you're just sitting there feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I understand I could go read a guide or anything, but I told myself with this game, this is one of the few games that I didn't want to know anything about it. I didn't want to read a guide, and I wanted to actually do everything on my own, because just like within something that reminds me of this, the Mass Effect series 1, 2, and 3, there are choices that you make that can span and make different things, but this is like Mass Effect choices on steroids. Like, the choices you make in here could affect something way down far in the line, and you never know what you're going to say or do, and all those things. So that's been definitely the thing that getting me through this. So I didn't want to look up anything with the combat in case of being spoiled on that. And I'll say, as I've started to level up in the game, I've started to enjoy the combat a little bit more. You start off so weak, I feel, that a lot of combat encounters can be very difficult, even on the easiest difficulty. And honestly, I think they could have done a little bit of a better job, maybe going over the details with it. Something like Persona 5, I thought did a really good job of, while there is a lot of tutorials, kind of just dissecting and going over exactly all the different elements of the game, even though it took over a span of hours. Baldur's Gate kind of just throws you in and teaches you a couple tutorials in the beginning, but after that it's like, all right, bye, have fun. In some ways works, in some ways doesn't, but that's really my only thing. Again, turn-based people, you probably love this combat, and you probably love this game because of it. Me personally, I really dug it. I really like it now, but starting out, it was rough, and I could imagine it might turn some players off from that. But besides that, though, that's not the reason I'm playing this game. I'm playing this game because it's a role-playing game. that I can form a character, form a party, form relationships, and explore a world that I've never gotten to explore before. And for me, that is the best element of this entire game. You know, just to get kind of a couple more nitpicks out of the way, is it's a little clunky at times. Sometimes the loading takes a little bit on the console. And with that, I mean, I really don't have any other issues. I find this game to be one of the coolest RPGs that I've ever experienced. And it truly is everything that you've heard it to be. It's amazing. It's stupendous. It's fantastic. It's, again, one of the best RPGs that has probably ever been created, specifically from story-based decisions. It feels that every single conversation that you have in this game could branch off in 40 different ways. And I really love that. And something that this game really started to make me do is a character that you might think is completely arrogant and impossible to deal with, you might kind of start to come to them and be like, this person's actually really cool. The orc persistently that starts off with you, I thought she was unbearable. I thought, I'm never going to put her in my party, but then she's powerful, so I do. But then you start to get to know her a little bit more, and you're like, she's actually really cool. And I really love how this game dissects and does that with every single one of the characters so far. And in general, also the world. As you explore, there's always different, like if you have this one situation, there's like 5 other ways that you can do it, other than the way that they're telling you. Like, for example, and I don't want to get into spoilers for people who maybe haven't even played the game yet, but there's like this person stuck behind a rock, and you can either blow up the rocks, and then you're probably going to have to choose to fight him or join his side. And, you know, it's not great to join his side, but there's like multiple different ways. Like, you can either go sleep for 2 days and then come back and he's dead, or you can go talk to like everyone and you can actually find out there's a riot that they want to have against him. So if you do that, you'll actually have a full army against this guy and you can actually beat him. It's these little details, little decisions that you have that feel like they're going to affect everything going forward. And I cannot express enough. I can't imagine writing this game out. I can't imagine creating and developing a game like this that's going to develop and give ideas like this. And for me, while again I can complain all I want about the action, you get everything you could want in an RPG. You get adventure to different lands and worlds, and I love just walking around, exploring, and finding different things. Like, in Act 2, you find this, like, hospital with this, like, creepy doctor, and I ended up killing him, and it gave me a trophy. And it turns out there's, like, a whole situation to that at all. And it was just, like, something off the path that I didn't even have to go through. At least that I didn't think I had to go through. And then I went a whole different route to this next area. There's always something to discover in this game. And it's easy to get lost, and it's easy to get sucked in, to the point where I just sat there, like, continuously getting thrown back. And it feels like a game that would not be coming out today. It feels like a game that would have came out, again, during the Mass Effect era, where games like those were coming out and you got the full package and everything like that. There's no DLC, no add-ons, anything. They just put the entire game out there for you to enjoy. And I'm very excited to play probably another 10, 15 hours until I beat the game, and then re-roll and start a whole new character and see what other choices I can go back through and make. And romances in games are always like very hit or miss. But I felt like that, like, Mass Effect has, like, done it perfectly, and nothing has ever done that again when it comes down to relationships, as friendship, as lovers, as all sorts of things like that. Baldur's Gate is giving that a run for its money. I'm not, like, fully sold on it in some capacities. I wish some of the relationships would move a little bit faster, specifically some of the friendship ones. And it always feels like it's either you gotta fuck them or you don't. Like, there's no fine between sometimes. But I really love getting to know each of the characters, and I have not felt that way since Mass Effect, to where I'm very nervous to lose anyone in my crew. That's saying a lot. That's saying a lot because these are frickin' video game characters. The fantasy of it all, you know, I talked about the adventure, the sex, but it's the fantasy that really keeps you going and keeps you engaged and deplored to this entire world, and that's one thing that I feel like so many games lose sight of nowadays, is forgetting to be creative and forgetting to be to go off in such unique ways. Like, the game's rated M, and it's rated M for a lot of different ways. There's a lot of humor, there's a lot of funny things, and a lot of choices that you can make that seem so stupid. Like, but then they end up being one of the most important choices that you can do. I wanted to explore every nook and cranny of this game, and that's one of the reasons that this review is so late. You know, my goal was to actually get this up about a week ago, and I didn't, because I just kept exploring, and that's a lot. I know a lot of you guys have already heard all that. I just had to sit down and express myself on why Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the best RPGs that I've personally ever played. And I still haven't even beaten it, but it's one that I already know that I'm going to go back through and intersect and play again and again and again. And I think this is D&D for people who can't play D&D or can't, put time aside for one time a week to play this, to go over to someone's house and do it. This is something that's easy for them to play single player, but then if you want to do it with your friends, you can also do multiplayer. And watching some people play it, it's absolutely really interesting. I wish they would have done a little bit more development on it. It seems like one person's the main character of it all, and the other ones are just side. I don't fully love that personally, but I digress. Baldur's Gate 3 is about everything that the hype had led me up to believe it was, and even a little bit more. Does the turn-based combat work at first? No, not for me at all. It almost lost me. But once I got stronger, once I started to understand the basics a little bit more, I started to like it. I don't fully think that I'm a pro at it, but I can at least get through and get along and survive and get to the next story beat, which is the reason that I continue to keep playing the game, is to see where the story will go, to see where my characters and my relationships will follow through, and to see what other new sites or creepy monsters or creepy people that I might run into, because some of the stuff, like everything in Act 2, is really terrifying and brings that spooky vibes, and specifically because we're heading into Halloween, it's a great thing. Like, I just want to kind of live in there all in October, but this is a true RPG that I don't think anyone has ever developed before, or something to this scale, and I think developers should be scared that now we as fans are getting a game like this, and we're going to expect that same stuff. And I can't highly recommend this one any more to other people than I am right now. Like, if you want to really get lost inside a video game, this is what I would recommend. I know the turn-based is not going to be for everybody, but it's worth giving it a shot just for the story alone. Put it on the easiest difficulty, just take your time with the game, and know that it's not one that you should rush through. Because I will tell you right now, I've talked to some people who rushed through the game and they got hard stuck, and they had to literally make a new character because they only had like one save going, which is terrible. Make a lot of saves with this one for your choices. But again, as someone who grew up playing Dark Alliance Baldur's Gate for the PlayStation 2 with his father, and this is like my only thing, I guess, to Dungeons and Dragons, this just was awesome. And it kind of brought back a couple memories of certain things that I've seen and remember from this game now that are in here. But that is such a singular game, and I'm on cloud 9 playing this one, and I love being able to explore and be taken back, because it's been such a long time when it comes down to an RPG. And I know I just reviewed Starfield, but that's like a different type of RPG. This is like one that, again, harkens back to the days of Mass Effect, which I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. So thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and comment down below your guys' thoughts. And of course, until next time, stay classy.